one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so Mr. Madsen can't be here tonight, and Maggie is at a conference. And not sure where Ms. Cook is, but regardless of whether she's here or not, I appoint both Erica and Jess to be voting members tonight. And you were both at the last regular meeting, so that makes life easier. All right, I'd take a motion to approve the minutes of May 5th, 2026. Is there a motion? Moved by Ms. DiPietro. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Warner. Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. You have minutes from May 5th. I'd suggest since they, from May 21st or whatever.
19th.
Yeah, those are new. I just say hold on to those, and we'll do those at the workshop in June. Or actually, you can hand them down the way. Next on the agenda is public comments. Speakers may be limited to 3 minutes. This would be generally for things that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody that wishes to speak? Nobody wishes to speak?
Should I get up? If you wanted to speak off from topic, yes.
Yeah, and name and address, please.
I'm Paula Rubino, and I live in Cottage Street. I was actually here, I think, 5 years ago, and I wanted to put a little hot dog cart at the lake, which they approved. But then, like, the next month, COVID happened, so everything stopped. And I just found out that they did they changed the ordinance, so I guess there's nobody who can be at the lake unless it's a massive event.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, thank you. Did you hear all of that before?
I heard, I think I got the gist.
I just talked to Brenda, because I believe when there's a will, there's a way, if, what I would have to do if I wanted to have something small at the lake, and I just thought it was going to be so easy since they had approved me, so now I guess everything has changed. And, the season's so short, I didn't want to lose out a whole season, and they were going to put me on for next week, but I guess because of the ordinances.
This is a hot dog stand,
No,
right?
I really just wanted to have a little gelato cart. I used to have a big ice cream
gelato
shop and
cart,
cafe
yeah,
in Connecticut,
okay.
so I wanted to do that. I mean, it's a 5-foot freezer and pretty basic.
Unfortunately, the code doesn't allow that in that district, which is Lakeside neighborhood. If you were in downtown Village, up on Main Street, I think it is allowed, is that correct? Or up by the community center?
I have to look real quick, not sure.
I can look real quick.
But is the,
So it's allowed in DVB 1, 2, it's not allowed in DVN, it's allowed in the inner corridor, outer corridor, mixed-use corridor, and outer village, and not in village.
So you picked one of the two places it's not allowed. I'd suggest for this year, so that's not something we would approve. It gets approved, as you mentioned, by the select board. I'd suggest that, so you can take advantage of the summer, that you actually select an area where it can go. So, you can go, I think Lakeside neighborhood, I mean, literally just a block and a half away, you're allowed.
but is the hotel not in the Lakeside whole complex of the?
The hotel is in downtown Village neighborhood, I think.
I thought it was DVB1.
DVB1, yeah. So it's allowed on the hotel grounds. But I would suggest, obviously you can petition the board to change the ordinance, but that's not, even if the board determined it would make sense to change the ordinance, it wouldn't happen until at the earliest November. And then
Yeah.
you've lost your time. So I would strongly recommend just find a spot that's close to the water, or on the way to the water, or on Depot Street.
Yeah, but I spent 20 years inside of my own ice cream shop in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I wanted to be outside if I
Well,
was going to have
you
to.
can be outside on Depot Street. I mean, the farmer's
Yeah, but-
market is, and this is just a suggestion, I'm not the person that approves these things, and Brenda would help you. The farmer's market is on the grass there every Saturday, so I don't see.
Well, I'm not seeing the water and the mountains, if I had to work
Well,
at all.
I can't help that.
Yeah, but I
think-
see what you're saying, if I
But
found
you
a
can't
spot.
have it, you could have it outside, and you could have it in a high-traffic area. I mean, Depot Street's fairly high-traffic area, especially on Saturdays.
Yeah,
So, something to think about.
okay, thank you.
But if you really do want to change it, what I'd suggest, and Brenda or Laura Lee can
Yeah.
help you, is
Yeah.
petition the board for an ordinance change.
Okay,
And,
I guess I'm going to have to take vacation time this summer.
Yeah,
And see more of
sorry.
Maine.
yeah,
So, okay.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, just,
Yeah, things changed. I thought it was going to be so easy because they gave it to me so easy
yeah,
for that.
the
And
select
this
board
is-
licenses it, but it has to be an allowed use. So,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Kevin Ray,
Rader.
Alpine Road. Just a PSA, if you will, just reminding everybody about voting on Tuesday.
thank you
Might as
very
well
much.
take advantage of publicity. Comp plan is there for being approved, which is really important for everybody. There's 5 people running for 2 open select board seats. That should be important to everybody. And there's some group running unopposed. They either are doing a very good job or people don't know who they are. Anyway, the select board is running, the planning board is running unopposed, but always good
Well,
to.
I'll stop you there. So, 2 of the members are here. That happens to be Erica and Jessica Warner and Erica Rowland, who have both been, they're new members, but they've been great. So, just check that box. That'd be my recommendation. And then Maggie Lynn, who's at a conference tonight, is also running. And so is Angie Cook. So, they're all unopposed, but it's important to register your vote if you can.
And that's Tuesday, 8 to 8, Town Hall. And then Wednesday at 7, I believe, also at Town Hall is the
Town meeting.
annual town meeting. And that's the budget stuff.
Yeah.
That could be very dull, get you home in time for a face-off if there's a hockey game that night, or it could be longer, who knows?
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? All right, then we'll move along to old business, 5A, North Star subdivision, High Oak Ridge Road, map 13, lot 52E. We recessed the public hearing because we were going to get a little bit more information from the applicant, Bill Garish, representing the North Star Group. And after we get that data, I think, and then if the public wants to speak, great. I would think we'll close the hearing and deliberate. So, Mr. Garish, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, for having us here again today, and board members. I just will quickly, I guess, just very short overview. The proposed North Star Estates subdivision is the applicant's True North Builders. Ryan Morrill and Kevin Dubriel are both here. They're both the principals of True North Builders, and we're here seeking approval of the subdivision plan this evening. The site, again, is 19 acres on tax map 13, lot 52E, in the rural neighborhood district, with a couple of little slivers being in the limited residential district. 8 lots are proposed with about 1,800 feet of internal roadway with a hammerhead turnaround. And the site, the entire site that's proposed to be developed drains off to the north. It's in the Beaver Pond watershed. There are portions of the site in the rear on the south end that are also in the Woods Pond watershed. And on May 5, we did have a public hearing. We talked about several items, and we were requested to provide some additional information on some of those items. I'll just quickly go through those, and then certainly you can ask questions or provide additional input. So the first one I just wanted to talk about was buildable areas and corner lots. We talked a little bit about the first two lots going in. We were previously just showing a 75-foot setback on one side. We have adjusted the subdivision plan, as you can see, to show 75-foot setbacks on both Ohio Ridge Road and North Star Drive.
One quick comment, Bill.
Yep.
Just in our discussion before, I know it went around in circles a bit, but it's not required to have a 75-foot setback on the road going in, because that's a common lot line.
Okay,
You
I
can
wasn't
go
sure
down
about
to-
that. Yeah.
And that, I might revisit that later. Just, the trade-off there is if you had even a 50-foot setback, you could have a larger perimeter buffer, which might be beneficial. But what apparently I didn't get across as well as I thought I did last time is the 75-foot setback applies to a public lot line, front lot line. If there's another front lot line because of the corner and it's a common lot line, then you follow the rule for that lot line, for that road. So just to, sorry, keep
No,
going.
that's good. So just so I understand that the first two lots wouldn't need 75 feet on North Star Drive, but the remaining 6 lots would be set back 75 feet.
No, they'd be 25 because it's a common lot line. It's a private road, right?
Yep.
If it's not a public road, it's not a public lot line, and it doesn't have a 75-foot setback.
Okay.
So you only have one public road there.
Okay.
And that's Ohio Ridge.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Everybody follow me? We went over this a few times, also at the workshop.
And the buildable areas are the areas that are shown in that color. They take outside the setbacks and other features, buffers and so forth. We also added the upland area in each lot, which in this particular case, except for the back lot or the remaining land, is the entire lot area. Those numbers are in parentheses on the subdivision plan. We did provide a traffic impact assessment. The traffic impact assessment estimates 13 trips during the AM peak hour during the weekday, 10 trips in the PM peak hour during the weekday, and 17 peak hour trips on Saturday, on the Saturday peak hour. That would not trigger any type of traffic movement permit and shouldn't have any significant impact on Ohio Ridge Road. There's also no high crash locations in the vicinity of the site. And we have talked, I guess, at length about site distance. There is a site distance shortfall looking right due to this corner. Site distance can be achieved to meet town standards by clearing trees along that right-of-way. We have requested a waiver, given that most of the traffic that's coming out of here will come and go in this direction. Site distance down here is very good, and the DOT highway standards require a little less sight distance, 360 feet as opposed to 400 feet. We feel that that's an acceptable level of safety and would limit the tree clearing to just areas within the road right-of-way. So I don't believe the board ruled on any of the waivers last month, so that one, I believe, is still outstanding. And then also to do with, actually, I'm going to flip the sheet. And as you may recall, we had some discussion about septic locations, well locations, and meeting all the setbacks. Some of the proposed wastewater disposal systems were moved around, particularly in this lot. We also did another test pit in this lot to make more room for the building envelope. Initially, some of the test pits before the subdivision was designed were done too close to the boundary, and one was in the pond. So those test pits have all been redone or added. That additional information was in the package. The hydrogeologic study has been updated to reflect all of that information. It's kind of hard to see on this, but there's some dots here that represent the proposed well locations. And we feel that we've addressed all the groundwater and wastewater disposal comments and questions by providing this additional information. We also had some discussions about soils mapping, and we have requested a waiver from the requirement to do a high-intensity soil survey, given all the test pits, the grain size analyses, the hydrogeologic study, and the fact that there's no very poor draining soils on the site. There's no large bedrock outcroppings or other limitations, and we just didn't feel that high-intensity soil survey would provide us any beneficial information that we don't already have. There was a question with regards to the county soils maps. We had used a NRCS, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resource Conservation Service, NRCS soils map as part of our stormwater study. The engineer that conducted this analysis used a map that was prepared by the same agency. They're both near the county line, so there's some overlap. Our map identified the soils based on the Oxford County nomenclature, whereas the other study based it on the Cumberland County nomenclature. So that's the reason why some of the mapping shows the on-site soils as scary and kernel soils, where another map shows it as Herman soils. Herman would be the Cumberland nomenclature. Scary and kernel would be the Oxford nomenclature. They were both prepared by the same agency. The soil characteristics are the same. They're the same soils, just different nomenclatures. So we attempted to provide that explanation in our package, and hopefully that clears that up as well. On the stormwater front, there were some inconsistencies in the water quality volumes on the underdrain soil filter swales. They would be these 4-foot wide by 150-foot long relatively flat swales to pick up stormwater from those developed lots and treat for phosphorus. We have corrected those. We've also connected those by reaches in the HydroCAD model to better reflect the actual conditions that occur there. And it didn't, other than it changed the diagram and so forth, really didn't have any impact to the numbers. Everything ended up being the same. We also added some details in the drawings as requested for those under drain soil filter swales. And then there was some discussion at the earlier meeting about the westerly buffer. And it was pointed out that this was originally a 38-acre lot that was split in half to two 19-acre lots. The lot was all logged at one time. There are a number of old logging roads, tote roads that go back and forth over the boundary line. We did go down that line all the way along the property with a survey crew. And we located those openings. They are shown in here, all the gaps that we found. Otherwise, we found pretty good vegetation. We did provide some pictures in the package of those areas, the typical buffer areas as well as the openings. And they're, given the age of the regrowth on that parcel, there's a lot of good material. Small pine trees and small hemlock trees throughout the site that will be within the cleared limits for the proposed houses. So the applicant proposes to remove some of those trees and transplant those trees along that boundary line as shown on this plan. And that should provide some good screening in those open areas. And then the only other significant, I guess, thing that we discussed, or we didn't have, I guess, during the last meeting, and we didn't have it for this submission, but we do have it now, is the homeowner association documents. The ordinance does require some sort of document that outlines the maintenance responsibilities of the subdivision's infrastructure. We received those documents yesterday in draft format. They are, we did submit those to the staff, and they do clearly outline the maintenance responsibilities for the homeowner association. The applicants will assume those responsibilities until such time that the lots are sold, and then the HOA will take over. The only thing that, I guess the only outstanding issue that we have resolved with the title attorney, in the documents it references easements to go ahead and, maintain the stormwater infrastructure. So what we will be doing is, just like shown on this plan, we'll be showing the stormwater features on the recorded subdivision plan. So when the HOA documents and all the deeds are recorded and this plan's recorded, then there'll be that connection between all of those documents, and it'll be all part of the public record. So I guess with that, unless the board has any questions, we would ask you to consider this for preliminary and maybe conditional final approval pending staff review of the HOA documents.
All right, I guess I'll go to the public first. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak regarding the Ohio Ridge North Star subdivision? Name and address, please.
Jonathan Weld, 156 North High Street. I'd just like to make a public comment. I often travel on the Ohio Ridge Road, and it's very poorly maintained. A lot of potholes and cracks, and at the edge of the road, it's often very bad. This will create greater stress on the road. Is there any plan to upgrade the road?
Well, the Public Works Director is here, and maybe he could speak to that.
Shall I go up there?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bruce.
Good evening, I'm Bruce Kimball, Public Works Director. Yes,
a portion of High Ridge Road is gonna be paved this summer. So not the whole thing, but a portion. We have to phase it in, but yes, it will be paved.
Okay.
That's on,
Up until the Denmark line, after the Denmark line is well maintained.
yes, yeah. Well, we're addressing it.
Okay. So you can get at least a partial.
And more to come later years. It's a
Yeah.
phased project.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? So I guess before we get to the rest of the board, or maybe I would pose this to the board. And since we're not signing off the final subdivision plan tonight, the final documents, it seems to me it would be better to have less of a setback within the subdivision and request a larger perimeter buffer. Right now, it's a 15-foot perimeter buffer, but generally with subdivisions this size and cluster subdivisions and condos, it's a 25-foot buffer. And we may be changing everything to be 25 in the future. So I think if it doesn't, I guess a question for you, Bill, is if you have a 25-foot perimeter buffer, I know you have it in the, can't remember if you have it in the front. If you had 25 feet around the perimeter instead of 15, and obviously you can move the houses closer to the road, is there anything that is a negative to doing that from the perspective of the utilities and that sort of thing? Because I think that would allow for more privacy for the abutters.
Yeah, I mean, just, hearing some whispers from the applicant behind me too, I think that would be favorable. We've struggled with pushing everything so far back, given
Yeah.
the long, narrow shape of this lot and having to do longer driveways, more impervious area, and basically pushing the houses back closer to the abutters. So, yeah, the short answer is I think it would be favorable to
Okay.
go in that
How
direction.
does the board feel about that?
Yes. Yes.
Terrific. All right, questions or comments? Kathy, I'll let you start.
Believe it or not, you answered all my questions. Am I not loud enough? Usually not. Okay. You answered all my questions. You did a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay, Jess?
Yep, no questions, and yeah, I would also agree to reduce the buffer in the front to increase it for the abutters.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, so I do have one question for both the board and I guess Public Works. Bruce kindly summarized for us the town regs versus site distance and the state regs, and the town regs are a little bit tighter than the state regs. We did have comments at the last meeting, or the first part of the public hearing, about a lot of cutting along the road. So I guess, how does one thing first is, if Bruce, if you wouldn't mind going back up. Do you have any opinion in terms of the safety of reducing the site distance from 400 to 360?
I don't. I drove out there and looked at the area, and that 40 feet shouldn't make an ostensible difference. So I don't see a impact safety-wise, and it wouldn't affect, plowing or road maintenance for us. So
Okay.
yeah.
How's the board feel about that?
I'd prefer to keep the trees and make it the 360 rather than 400.
Yeah, and meet the state standard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that would be a waiver. And let me just, Okay. A question I had about the covenants, and we can certainly have staff look at them, but we'll look at them too, but I'll assume that you covered most, I went through them really quick. One question I had is, can there be some sort of reference to what's going to be on the deed restrictions in terms of any stormwater buffers and that sort of thing, so that, and can they be marked so that people don't inadvertently, oh, I got this nice big side yard, I'm going to make a little fire pit over here type of thing. Can that be referenced in the covenant somehow?
I can,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, certainly.
I realize it may not all happen. I don't know if you can do it before the deeds are recorded or after, but I can tell you from my experience in our neighborhood that we have a major DEP restriction in our neighborhood, and the statement we have in our covenants is very general about following all state and so forth and so on. And, we've had some issues, so we'll probably change those. We've had people that have been unaware of that, and
Yeah,
it's caused
yeah.
some major problems.
That's part of the reason for, referencing the documents with the recorded plan as well, so that should help as far as, not leaving it vague, so.
Okay. And I assume we can put it in, I assume you have no issue with conditioning what was brought up by the hydrogeological report was casing and grouting for a minimum of 15 feet below the solid bedrock surface and essentially no dug wells?
Yep, no
You
problem
okay
there.
with putting that on the plan?
Yep, no problem. That's the standard anyway, so, yeah.
All right. And then question for Brenda, the LEA payment of the phosphorus payment of $4,000, contingency payment, does the board want to allow that as opposed to the money to go to LEA? It's
Yeah.
because the state's not reviewing this, right? The state's not reviewing this subdivision, or are they?
Go to the town of Bridgton.
Goes to the town of Bridgton?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody from the public have any more questions or comments? Kathy?
Just one more. Will you be filing the Maine general contractor construction permit yourselves as the developers for the disturbance of more than 1 acre?
Yeah, that would be the operator would need to do that, who would be the
Right.
developer, yeah.
Okay.
And
Just-
the stormwater permit by rule has been filed with the DEP as well.
Okay, great. Then I think I move to close the public hearing. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Pietro. I'll give you oh no, I moved, so. Second, moved by Brazini, second by DiPietro. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and deliberate on the subdivision standards. Starting with the statutory review criteria. I'm not going to hesitate too long on these because we've had a lot of discussion, and I will also say that, Mr. Garris, you've done a really nice job with this application.
Thank you.
You've made it easy for us to review and understand. And I think the board, and I hope the public, appreciates your responsiveness to questions that were come up and issues like the gaps in the landscaping. So, very well done. Thank you.
Thanks.
We haven't deliberated yet, but I want to get that out there before I forget. Okay, so we'll go over the statutory review criteria. We do have some conditions we'll try to get through, and then what I would say is, assuming we do tentatively approve this with conditions, then at the next meeting, we'd have findings and the final maps, assuming the applicant's ready. So, first one is undue water or air pollution. Any questions there? Obviously, there's a number of studies. Sufficient water, these will be wells. Municipal water supply does not apply. Soil erosion or reduction in land's capacity to hold water. Good with that. Traffic, I think here we would reference the traffic study and provide a waiver for the 360-foot difference. Write that somewhere. Where am I going to write it? How about right here? My notebook is full. Okay. Sewage disposal. Municipal solid waste disposal. Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. The applicant did reach out to all the state agencies. Bill, are those, you've heard back from all of those, right? Or is,
Yes, we
okay.
have, yeah.
Comprehensive plan. We certainly need housing. Financial and technical capacity, that was in early. Surface waters, outstanding river segments do not apply. Groundwater, again, the condition for the type of well would probably either go in groundwater or probably in groundwater. Floodplain, not in the floodplains. Freshwater wetlands, there is a wetland off into the other parcel there, not within the subdivision itself. And, so that's not impacted. Farmland, if you recall, there's a farm next door, and there needs to be a 50-foot setback of, I think it's particular types of structures to the farmland. And if I remember correctly, that was shown in your last submission and referenced. Is that, did I get that right?
I think so.
Okay. Just, I think based on where the building envelopes are gonna be, I don't think that's going to need a condition. But if it does, it'll just be that things need to be to the, because there were only certain items.
It was just water supply.
Okay.
Any type of
So it's
spring
the
or well would
wells.
have to be outside that 50 feet, and they're all well outside of
Okay.
that, so, yeah.
So I'll put that in the findings, that,
Okay.
that, as opposed to a condition. River, stream, or brook, there's no river, stream, or brook. Stormwater, quite a lot on that. Spaghetti lots, prohibited. It's not in the shoreland zone, and not spaghetti lots anyway, but lake phosphorus concentration, there'll be a condition here for payment to the town as phosphorus compensation. Okay. Impact on adjoining municipality, it's not applicable, it doesn't border another town. Land subject to liquidation harvesting. I think, Bill, that you avowed that there hasn't been any liquidation that is improper within the last 5 years. I think there's a statement in there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the application, the original.
Yeah. Additional review criteria, phosphorus export. We already went over that. So it could end up that that's where the payment item goes. Relationship to community services. Just a question, Bill, where is snow removal going to go?
It would just, the road is designed with open ditches, so
Okay.
it would be
So
more
it
or
would
less
just get
just
pushed back.
pushed to the side.
And it would be
yeah.
pushed beyond the turnaround there for the fire department.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and those proposed grades are relatively uniform there, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Retention of public sites and open spaces, that's not proposed here. Preservation of natural and historic features, there were none. Traffic impact, shoreland zoning, there's a piece of the entire parcel in shoreland zoning, but it's not within the phase 1 of the subdivision. So it doesn't necessarily apply for this application. Just for the people watching here, audience. The shoreland zone is over in this corner, so it's not close to subdivision. Alrighty. Easement for drainage ways, utilities, required improvements, monuments will be set. Is there going to be signage at the entrance, or no? I can't remember. Are you going to name it?
We talked about putting a road sign naming the street, not,
Oh,
we
because
didn't,
it's more than, okay, yeah.
yeah, we didn't propose a stop sign at the road.
All right.
Yeah.
So there's a condition to get a road sign permit from Ms. Day. And then also a road opening, right? Road opening permit? See, I'm getting better at this stuff. Watch out, Brenda.
Kind of one and the same.
Yeah, okay. Road or homeowners association, we've got documents, got bylaws and the association, and I'll just write I just get your update on whether that reference could be included.
Yep,
I will state in the findings that the stormwater buffer area and the perimeter buffer will be staked or marked in some way so that people don't intrude on it. So, just a thought, you have building guidelines within the covenants I saw. You could include there that the buffers have to be maintained. As well as, it being on the deeds. Minimum lot size and frontage. Monuments. Road signs, roads, the road will be built to town standards. There will not be non-conforming roads. I assume we're not requesting sidewalks out here. Water supply, it'll be done as fire protection. Chief has vouched that there's a water source within the proper distance, I think a mile and a half, right? Okay. Surface drainage, I think we already spoke to that. I think this, I would just put in the findings that topsoil, can't be removed for the construction of roads, et cetera, just restate it in the findings. Long-term maintenance plan, that's written into the covenants, into the covenants, right?
Correct.
I think so. Buffers, here, I'll state it'll be a 25-foot buffer. I'm not going to make it a condition because obviously the requirement is only 15. I think that's everything in that area. In terms of the land use standards for rural neighborhood. Dwelling units are allowed in every district, so that's not an issue. Because it's a subdivision, it's allowed to have a 40,000 square foot lot per dwelling unit instead of 80,000. Nothing's in the shoreland zone. It's got the maximum lot coverage spec is 30%. They're not gonna exceed that. And the height of the structures when built will be 35 feet or less. There's no setbacks from the shoreland zone because it's well away. And the space and bulk standards don't apply. And then for shoreland zone, I think, just say there's an area on the full parcel that's in the shoreland zone but isn't affected, if that makes sense. So, I think that's everything.
Yep.
So the conditions are, there's the waiver for the site distance, so we don't cut as many trees. There's the condition for the well. There's the payment to the town. There was something else. I'm forgetting it. Hold on. I think. So we have a waiver for, the site distance and for the high intensity soil survey and for the, lost my train of thought. The track for the site distance. We have conditions for the well, for the payment to the town for phosphorus, and a condition that the buffer will, where there's the gaps, there'll be plantings. I think that's everything. Is that everything? Okay, so with those conditions and waivers mentioned, I would accept a motion to tentatively approve the application pending the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Moved by Erica, Ms. Rowland. Looked like you seconded by Ms. DiPietro. All in favor, please raise your hand. 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Again, well done. It's nice when somebody makes our job easier. Okay. All righty, next on the agenda. Okay. Is the findings of fact and conclusions of law for the Bridgton Highlands Country Club, for the driving range and putting greens and such. At the last meeting, we asked for a detailed. Yeah, the last meeting, we asked for a detailed landscaping plan with the species. That was submitted. It was submitted a little on the late side, but I think you could obviously make it, we can look at it now if you want, or it looks fairly representative to me, or yeah, I'd say take a quick look at it right now if you haven't seen it. It's pretty detailed. It's 3 pages. And it's representative, appears to be representative of the pretty drawing that we had.
Yes.
And just as a reminder, I mean, Brenda will be following up on this, but the trees have to be a certain height, and I'm looking at the list here, and they're all at the heights that we request in the code, as far as I can tell. Yeah, I'll get to the, so. And then there's all the planting instructions. So are people,
Yep.
people, is the board satisfied with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then there's a memo about the pond. So remember on the map, the shoreline zone map is incorrect.
Yes.
Brenda, did you have anything to say about this? Okay. I've been out there, yeah, it's a pond, it's a man-made structure. It's not a wetland, it's not a lake, so forth and so on. Okay. And then, I think that's it, and then the findings. So, any questions, comments, concerns?
Nope. Thought it was well written.
What's that?
I thought it was well written.
Oh, thank you. Laura Lee was helpful in that regard. Laura Lee always gets these things to me quite early, but I tend to let them marinate for a while before I get to them. All right, so I'd accept a motion to accept the findings of fact and conclusion of law as written. Moved by Ms. DiPietro. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Rowland. All in favor, please raise your hand. 4-0. Congratulations to the golf course. I don't think anybody's here, but congratulations. I would just like to make the comment that at least for me, I felt this was also a very well done application. And Mr. Eaton has been before us twice now. And, he's done a nice job of. All right. Moving right along. On to Sam Ingles Road lot split for Mr. Gagnon. Sam Ingles Road, map 17, lot 23-1. Does anybody wish to recuse themselves? Okay. The applicant sent out the notices and has standing. Do we think we need a public hearing or a site walk? I would think no for a, and do we feel the application is substantially complete? All right, then, Mr. Garris, the floor is yours again, and maybe you could, so we approved an amendment a little bit less than a year ago to the subdivision, and now it looks like this is a second amendment. If you could just walk us through, remind us about the first one and what's happening in the second one.
Yeah.
I think I have it, but it'd be good for us to
Absolutely.
review it.
Yep. So this is the original Ingalls Hill Estates subdivision plan that was recorded years ago. It did have I guess Nick Gagnon, the applicant in this application, owned Lot 1, which is the biggest lot furthest to the, on the left-hand side of the sheet. So that's what we came in last year to amend. And I guess I'll point out, too, that you can kind of see the hatched areas, which do show a buffer around the site. And again, this project is in the Beaver Pond watershed, which is about 7,000 feet to the southeast, which would be in that direction, I guess going right on that sheet. So this is turned slightly, almost 90 degrees clockwise to the last plan, but that biggest lot, Lot 1, is the entire lot there. It's 13.47 acres, and last year the proposal was to split off 6 acres on the east side, which would be to the right, and that was approved last summer. No additional buffers were added. The area in the back, the hatched area, was the existing buffer that was on the original subdivision plan that would serve to treat the runoff from the new 6-acre lot. And then the existing lot, we determined that was the 7.37 acres that was remaining, actually drained to the south and was treated by another buffer. So that was approved basically in that configuration as you see it there. And then just moving fast forward to today, just dealing with this lot here. So that's it at a slightly different scale. And the proposal is to divide the remaining, I guess it's 7.37 acres into 2 lots. One would be about just under 4 acres, 3.96 acres. That would be the yellow and green area. And then the existing house would remain on a lot that is 3.47 acres. The new lot would have around 335 feet of frontage on Whitney Road. The remaining lot has a house and driveway on Sam Ingles Road. The area, the new lot, and it's hard to see the contours on that, but basically the flow downhill is going in this direction. And we did propose a 100-foot buffer along that. I guess it would be the easterly boundary of that lot, which was sized in accordance with the DEP standards. and for a single-family residence based on the soils and the slopes and stuff there. I can get into a lot of detail or a little detail, whatever you want on that, but we still, you can see the contours kind of roll around like this. So the existing lot, to remain the 3.47 acres, still drains off in this direction as it did with the original subdivision plan, and is still treated by another buffer on one of the other lots. So there's really no change to the stormwater or phosphorus management from the land to remain, and we did add this proposed buffer to address the new lot and the new residence that will be built there. So the new lot will, as with the existing lots out there, the new lot will be served by overhead utilities. There's an overhead line on Whitney Road. They will have to drill a private well. We did perform a test pit by a site evaluator in that location and found suitable soils for a wastewater disposal system with 24 inches of cover over seasonal high water table. This amended subdivision plan would be subject to all the same restrictions, deed restrictions as the original plan, being maximum length of the driveway is 150 feet, and then the requirements to preserve the buffers as vegetated buffers, no structures, no clearing other than dead trees and so forth. So all of those covenants do carry forward. So that's, I guess, it in a nutshell. It well exceeds all the dimensional requirements for lot area, road frontage. There are no wetlands on this area of the site, so pretty straightforward. But happy to answer any questions or comments.
Kathy?
I just have one minor question. Is the buffer, is that lot wooded at this time, or has it been cleared? Would this be a meadow buffer or a forested buffer eventually?
It would be a forested buffer. There is a driveway in this location. There was a camper there, a camper site there that was used by the owner in the past. The camper's been removed. The driveway is not impervious or anything. It's got grass growing on it, and they understand that that's, we have actually marked out the limits of that buffer so you can see where they are. You can see those marks on there. So that all comes back. So that's the only part really that isn't forested right now. The rest of it's completely wooded.
Is that it?
That was pretty much it?
Jess?
That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no questions.
Erica? Yeah, I have one or two. So this, it's going to turn once I do this, because it's not in the right. So this photo you have that shows the lots with the buffers, so the red here, the outline red, that's the original lot of 13 whatever acres.
13.47, yeah.
And then the existing lot is what was split off before, okay? And now you're splitting the lot that was remaining, okay, and buffer. So my question is, do you know if this overhead photo is representative of today's, what it's like today? Pretty heavily forested.
Yeah, that is pretty close. I believe on that photo, the camper may still have been there.
Yeah, I can see when I blow it up, the house on the original house
Yeah,
and the camper that I guess is gonna go away.
yeah, the camper's already been removed, but yeah, you can see it. It is just in that buffer area.
Yeah, what I was gonna propose, because this lot has been split now twice, creating 3 lots where there was one, is, and maybe there's already, so there's essentially already an existing 15-foot perimeter buffer, looking at this. And I think that should be maintained.
Okay.
And that was, I don't know how old this subdivision is and whether that was specified, but as things get split, usually the new lots have to meet the current subdivision thing, so.
Okay,
So the existing one that already has the house wouldn't necessarily need it, but I think those two that are essentially now being created, is there any, those really should have a 15-foot perimeter buffer. You're looking at me strangely, but I'm pretty sure this is correct.
yeah, I
Based
mean,
on what-
I don't see that really impacting anything, so, but,
Trying to follow you. Not looking at you strangely.
Yeah, so other than that, I don't have, I would just put in the findings that perimeter buffer would be maintained and be in the deed.
like the original
Yeah.
subdivision was 1990.
Yeah, so I don't know what the subdivision regs were at that time, but yeah, for those two new lots, or the creation of two lots from the one that was split off, those would need it. And doesn't look like that's gonna be any kind of a hardship.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my only other question is, in the original subdivision plan, it specified that lots couldn't be split within 5 years. And remember when this was split, we were like, the first time you were like a week from the 5 years or something like that. So that became a condition. I guess I'm asking, does that still apply? I'm thinking no, because first of all, it's triggered subdivision, you're coming from us, and second of all, it was on the original plan. I don't know if Brenda has any comment on that or not. So the very original plan said you had to wait 5 years before you split any of the lots. And I guess I'm curious whether that carries over.
Depends on what the intent was, I think, because, you have that 5-year period that you can do without doing subdivision.
Right.
But like you said, we're already in a subdivision, so I don't know what the intent was. I have to go back and look at the.
There's no restriction other than that.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm fine with moving ahead with this, but maybe you could just, if you could just make sure we're legally not doing anything we're not supposed to. So, anybody else? I guess not. Anything more from you, Bill?
Nope.
Anybody from the public, staff? Remote TV land? Okay. So I think we'll move to the subdivision standards. Which might as well keep those pages up because we're gonna be doing a lot of them. I'll go fairly quick here since this is just a lot split at this time. Pollution. Obviously, the stormwater buffer is meant to address that. Sufficient water, municipal water supply is not applicable. Erosion. Can't remember, Brenda, you commented on one of the subdivisions that there wasn't an erosion control plan. I can't remember which one it was. Let me look. No, it's not on this one. Okay. There's guidelines in there too. Nothing's being built at this time. Well, there's guidelines in there to prevent it. So I will put that in the findings. Traffic? I sure hope there's not a lot of traffic out there. Sewage disposal? Municipal solid waste disposal? Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values? Comprehensive plan? Financial and technical capacity? Surface waters? There are none. Groundwater? In terms of the, Bill, in terms of the type of soils, will this also require a drilled well with casing, or does it matter?
I'm sure it'll have a drilled well with casing, that's kind of the industry standard, but,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, the soils are pretty consistent, fine sandy loam, well-drained soils, shallow to bedrock in some areas, so shouldn't penetrate into the groundwater significantly.
Okay. There's no freshwater wetlands. There's no surrounding farmland. There's no river, stream, or brook. Stormwater is addressed with the buffers. It's not in the shoreline zones, so, and it's not spaghetti lots. Phosphorus concentration, I don't think there was, I've looked at so many subdivisions today. No, this is not the one. So there was no compensation fee here that was required. It doesn't border an adjoining municipality. It hasn't been harvested. Additional review criteria, phosphorus expert was acceptable. And the others I'm just going to read here. Relationship to community services, retention of proposed public sites and open spaces, there are none. Preservation of natural and historic features, that was in the original. Traffic impact, shoreline zoning, it's not in the shoreline zone. Easement for drainage ways, utilities, required improvements, road or homeowners association. Bill, could you just speak to this? These are gonna be individual homes on the lot, so the owner will take care of all of that, right? There's no,
Yeah, and there's no
Association.
infrastructure for them to maintain, yeah.
right. Minimum lot size and lot frontage for subdivision lots. For this, it's 40,000 square feet per dwelling unit. Monuments. There will not be any road signs, correct? Roads. There will not be any roads, only driveways. Will the driveways be paved or gravel or yet to be decided because there's not a home being built yet?
I think yet to be decided. I'm anticipating gravel, but I don't know for sure.
And buffers, so buffer strip of at least 15 feet is required. That will be, I would say add that to the final map,
Okay.
then we don't have to condition it. It's not in the shoreline zone. In terms of the district, which is rural neighborhood, dwelling units are allowed. Meets the comprehensive plan. When the structures are built, they'll have to be a certain height. The setback, as you can see there, is 75 feet. And you're right next to the buffer, but well away from the sideline, so setbacks are met. And the space and bulk standards don't apply. Any other observations, questions, concerns? Then I would accept a motion to approve this subdivision lot split as presented with no conditions, but pending review by the code enforcement officer that it's legal to split the lot, since it's been less than 5 years since the last spot. Moved by Ms. DiPietro, is there a second? Second by Ms. Warner. Any comments? All in favor, please raise your hand. 4-0.
Tentative approval, right?
What?
Tentative approval, right?
Tentative approval, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Tentative approval. Pending Brenda's getting us some legal information and the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Okay. I don't think we need to revote. I think just a clarification. So I think you're all set for tonight. We'll see you in a month.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. On to the next item on the agenda, which is South High Street subdivision. Map 9. It says lot 36 and 36B in the application, but I think this is only 36B, is that correct, Jim?
It hasn't been assigned because this was a parcel that was broken out, so it hasn't been assigned yet by the tax assessor as a new lot in the tax assessing.
But there's not two lots, right? There's just one
No,
lot?
but this was part of a 3-lot subdivision, so that just happened this spring.
Yeah,
So that number hasn't, I don't think has been caught up in the tax assessor's book yet for this new lot that Mr. Lopez is developing.
so, okay, because I think it's just 36B. I don't think that's,
It may become B1, I don't know.
yeah.
Okay.
So is there anybody that wishes to recuse themselves? The applicant has standing notices, boy, have notices been sent out.
Picked a busy spot.
Do we feel the application is substantially complete? And do we feel we need a public hearing or a site walk?
I don't, but I used to spend a lot of time on the lot right next to it growing up, so I sort of know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with where it is. I've driven by it a lot. So Erica, Jess, are you good without a site walk?
Yeah.
And I would say probably don't need a public hearing. We good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, I'll hand the floor over to you, Mr. Seymour.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is Jim Seymour, Senior Project Manager with Sebago Technics, representing Mark Lopez this evening for a 5-unit multiplex building located on 220 South High Street. This property is located in the RN district. It comprises 1.84 acres of land. As I mentioned earlier, this was broken off previously from Mr. Grinnell, who sold his house lot to the north here. At that point, he incidentally triggered subdivision, which we came before this board to correct. He split the lot, and this created the third lot, which tripped subdivision. Now Mr. Lopez is taking that lot and further developing that for this 5-unit development. This, as I mentioned, is in the RN district. We have shown on the plan perimeter buffers in the dark green, which are the 15-foot required per subdivision. The other green is the remainder of the 25-foot setback from the external property line. In the back, you'll see a white hatched green area. That is a treatment area for phosphorus, which I'll get into in just a second. This property will have one driveway coming off of South High Street. My understanding is we have designed that to meet a road standard. This will probably likely have to have some kind of road name because of the number of units located off of that.
Even though it's not 500 feet.
Right. Probably for 911 purposes, it'll probably require some kind of name. We have public water located on South High Street. That will be coming in. We have a curb stop there now, which was to the northwest corner. We'll be tapping into that to supply water supply for all the buildings. And we have a common septic system located in the middle rear of the lot, kind of just to the west of that old path that kind of cuts across the lot as well. Additionally, we have located areas, because we have provided parking for each of these units, 2 parking spaces for each unit. We have provided snow storage areas, and then generally the grading will take that water from a west to east direction. We've provided underdrain soil filter to further help with the phosphorus, but also from the stormwater peak numbers down in the eastern sideline of that property line. This is in the watershed of Long Lake. We have done calculations, and I do think there might have been a clerical error in the cover letter. We're allowed to discharge 0.05 pounds phosphorus per year. With all our attempts to treat, we're still at 0.07, so there is a small compensation fee of, I believe, $137 for phosphorus, which would then be obviously payable to Lake Environmental Association. The size of the homes, each of the duplexes will be 30 by 34, and the single family, which is the one located straight back, right there is the single, that's a duplex, and that's a duplex. That will be a 24 by 34. In addition, we're requesting a waiver of landscaping. There are several large trees here in the front. We do have to lose one, but regardless of where we put the driveway, we're most likely going to have to lose one. So we've centered that. Our goal is to preserve all the other existing large trees to kind of keep a nice streetscape going down through South High Street. And the other one would be the hydrogeological. The septic system is located well into the center of the lot. It's creating 990 gallons per day, and we don't feel that that will have an adverse impact on any neighbors. And everybody is on public water. So with that, I will gladly take any questions.
Yeah, so just a clarification, I think one thing that would be helpful in the future, Jim, is when you do the narrative about lot size, I notice you do it on the plan, but in the narrative, it just says it meets the 40,000 square foot lot size. Since that's specified per dwelling unit, it would be really helpful to just put out there, right up front in the narrative, so we know where you're going. What lot size or what your calculation is in density in the narrative. So clearly it's a 1 acre lot.
Right.
And I think the other thing you could just come out and put it out there, whether we agree or not, is that you called it a community septic, which is fine, but clearly from looking at the design and from what's on the map, you're proposing 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit with the assumption that that's a central septic system. So I would just, in the future, it would be really helpful if, when you describe things.
I know we're still, you and others are still working on some of this language and densities and things. And
But
we will try to,
really, describing it per the standard, and basically asking for what you want would be helpful.
And just for clarity, the lot's really almost 2 acres, it's 1.84 acres.
Right, right.
40,000.
But for instance, because you have public water, if
Right.
it wasn't, if you
Sure.
weren't claiming this as a central sewer,
Right.
then,
The
or a
standard
type
would
of
be different.
central sewer, then you'd be limited to 30,000 square feet per
Right.
dwelling unit, and you wouldn't have enough.
Okay.
So that's why I'm just, for the future, I think it would be really helpful for
Okay.
us. That we know where your stake in the ground is.
Okay.
So, so anyway, if it's okay if I start, Kathy?
ahead.
And then I'll give it to you just for the one item. In looking at the sewer, which you've referenced as a community sewer, and I also went back and looked at the couple of definitions that we came up with during the Middle Ridge findings for central sewer. To me, this seems like it meets that definition. You have one septic field, and you have one treatment thingamajiggy. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, we've provided each unit will have its own independent septic tank, but it is going to one system.
Yeah, it's going to one pump system, and then into one septic field.
Correct. It's not a pump, it's going into one distribution.
Distribution,
Yep,
excuse me.
Yep. And then it's all gravity fed, and then it goes into one septic system, leach field.
So I think we should just discuss that first, because I think that's key for this, and it, and clearly you've designed something a little different than what you've done in the past, which, so what we said before, it says it means an approved sewage disposal system which provides a collection network and disposal system and central sewage treatment for a single development, community, or region. That was one definition. The other one was, is a shared wastewater system that collects sewage from multiple properties through underground pipes and transports it to a treatment facility, which is obviously the distribution and the septic. So, again, going forward, we're probably gonna make some changes to subdivision that are gonna align with this anyway, but, does anybody have any concerns about, allowing the 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit, or the 5 dwelling units on the 2 acres?
Well, I think, given the way the wastewater, subsurface wastewater is laid out, I think that the applicant will have a decision to make, because under the subsurface wastewater rules, section 11, miscellaneous systems, which talks about the design of multi-user systems, part C for multi-user disposal systems requires an entity, almost like a homeowners association. We have a road. When you have 5 people all sending, or 5 entities all sending to one ejector pump and one disposal field, there has to be an entity that maintains the shared infrastructure underground. And that usually has to go for review by the Department of Health Engineering, or, yes, I think it's Department of Health Engineering, to look at that, to make sure that they're comfortable with it before the code enforcement officer is allowed to issue a permit. That's one option. The other option that's presented in law at this point, but we have not yet adopted it, would be under LD 1829, where it says, 4 dwelling units attached or detached, including ADUs, per lot, if the lot is located in a designated growth area, as identified in the comprehensive plan, or served by public water and have public or comparable sewer system.
It sounds like that wouldn't really be an option for them, because it wouldn't allow them to do what they want to do.
It would be difficult because you'd have to put in an entire treatment works, which is secondary treatment. Much more expensive, much more problematic.
So what I'm hearing is that Mr. Lopez will have to create an association to be approved by, according to that document, DHHS, for the longevity, maintenance, et cetera, of the system.
And
And I would believe that that would be, Reese is here, Mr. Lopez's son is here, maybe he can speak to that, but I believe that there will be an association regardless because of the way that this development is laid out. There'll have to be one for plowing and maintaining the driveway anyway, so
yeah,
that
I
document
think,
could be
I'm trying to
easily.
remember if I read something in the application about thought there was something in there that mentioned the septic. But regardless, yeah, you'd need to have some agreement so that people don't you don't run into issues about it being maintained.
Or not maintained. It's
Or
like,
not
well, it's
maintained,
his
yeah.
problem.
You guys have more people in your house, so you're gonna pay more than us to get it taken care of.
Yeah, it always runs into weird dynamics with, how do you prorate something when you have multiple users?
Right, well, the good thing is they'll all be on public water. They'll all have a meter.
Yeah.
We can sort this out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that is easy to handle, and same with electricity, but the sewer, and there will be a homeowners association, so you're right, that was in the cover letter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, maybe it was in the narrative on,
Right.
Road and homeowners association, I think it was under J, under the subdivision.
well, you're gonna condoize this, it looks like, right?
At some point.
That's what
I-
you've mentioned in here.
Yeah, so there will be, obviously, there'll be condominium documents at some point created for this, so.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the review criteria for condominium developments in your narration. So, yeah, you would have to add something about the septic.
Right.
And just, yeah, make sure that it goes through the proper,
Because, yeah, I mean, regardless
State.
whether it's, everybody's going, there'll have to be a determination of who's responsible for pumping tanks and for inspecting the system, so on and so forth. And I would expect that the individual homeowners would be responsible for pumping their tanks, but maybe it's part of a condo association fee. I don't know. That would be up to Mr. Lopez.
okay, all right, but so with that in mind, it would be a special system that flows to one field, or one distribution in one field, which is essentially treating the septic. Are we okay with that?
I'd be okay with it as long as Department of Health Engineering reviews and approves this.
Is that same as DHS, or is that a portion of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's a division within DHS that looks at sanitary issues.
HHS, right?
DHHS,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Is it, or are they under DEP? I
No,
thought it was
they're under.
DHHS.
Yeah,
Because it's
Department
people
of Health and
health.
Human Services, so.
Right,
Yeah, so in other words, it should go through it should follow the basic requirements in law for that, or rules, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
in terms of how that affects the density calculations, I think that sooner or later, this lot's gonna butt up against what the capacity of those soils are. I mean, this may be what could possibly be on this lot.
So,
So
explain that a
five-
little bit.
What I mean is that if Mr. Lopez truly wanted to assume 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit,
Oh, so if he wanted
Yeah.
more dwelling units than
Yeah,
what's shown. Okay.
there's a standard for how much septic you can load per square
Right,
feet of
okay.
area.
Right.
So I
And
think
this would-
that's addressed by, assuming we continue, I think that's just addressed by, in the findings. Or, And any addition to those, so for instance, if the applicant wanted to have more dwelling units, would have to come back to the board anyway. So that,
No.
I think that resolves that.
Yeah, and I think based on the orientation and the layout that Mr. Lopez has proposed, it would be difficult to squeeze another unit in there somewhere, just
Yeah.
because of the way the parking and the building's layout. There wouldn't be very good access through those to get to anything in the back or the rear.
Jessica and Erica, any thoughts on the septic and the?
No, so the two on the side are the
Duplexes,
duplexes,
yep.
and the one in the back is the single family.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with Kathy, if we get an official approval that this is and can work as a communal septic, yeah, I'd be okay with approving it. And again, assuming it's an HOA and it is communal, because they're in an HOA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Erica?
I agree. I like the direction that Kathy went with this.
Okay. All right. Kathy, other questions? I thought we should get the big issue out of the way first.
Right. I just had one minor thing about the stormwater.
Okay.
In the post-treatment, because of the size and the mounding of the disposal field, it doesn't look like that was taken into account in the post-stormwater flow. So if that could be, it's a relatively large entity. I think I blocked it out on the map.
Okay.
If
Just
that
take
could be
account-
accounted for,
Accounting for the grading and the clearing.
the grading and the clearing
Okay.
and the.
I don't think it'll have any massive impact, but
But-
we can add that.
Just run it in, see
Yep.
if,
Okay. So, tell me what that is you're adding?
It's to account for, when we did the stormwater calculations, where the septic system is, that will be a cleared area. And it will be grass versus trees. So
Yeah.
that it'll have a small hydrologic change to the calculations. But personally, I don't think it'll have anything of substance, but she just wants us to double check because there was a little
Yep.
grading and changes.
Okay,
I think
so
it'll be-
make that
Yeah.
match, okay?
Can I ask a clarifying question? I want to ask Jim and Kathy this.
Yep.
So my understanding on the subsurface wastewater, and maybe I'm missing something, is that it doesn't need DHHS approval unless it's just 2,000 gallons per day and it's engineered. This is not engineered.
no, that's not engineered, but it is multi-user.
It is multi-user, but it only needs DHS approval if it's 2,000 gallons, is what my understanding. I'm asking both of you, both opinions here. That's my understanding. I mean, because this system right here was designed by the site evaluator, and I'm reviewing it right now, and it's only 990
Gallons per day.
Gallons per day.
gallons, so usually only the engineered systems need to be approved by DHHS.
And I'm not certain, because to your point, I've only dealt with the engineering system design limitations. I've not dealt with the multi-user question before. I think it's just as simple as asking DHHS
Yeah.
what they're looking for.
So
and
Jim, I
provide-
think if you could do that, and Kathy, if DHHS says, just do this, are you satisfied with their
I'm
answer?
satisfied with that.
Yeah, I think it's just a
Comfortable with
correspondence with DHS asking them how they interpret that or what they're
Yeah,
looking
do
for.
you need to do anything
Yeah.
more than, what the site evaluator? Go ahead, Mr. Lopez, go up to the mic, please. Name and address.
Royce Lopez, 438 Commons Drive. Just wondering if, can we find out, do you have a piece of law we can reference back and find out whether we need to go to DHHS?
Yeah, I was kind of looking it up as we were speaking, but I was just reviewing what they had. I just have in Maine, a septic system serving multi-dwelling units may require review by Maine DHHS subsurface wastewater, depending on the size and the design of the system. Systems that are considered engineered disposal systems, generally those designed to treat 2,000 gallons per day or more, fall under state level review and approval requirements. For smaller multi-unit projects, the system is also often designed by a licensed site evaluator and permitted through the local plumbing inspector, but special design requirements may still apply. So that's what I
So,
So it sounds like we don't have to go to DHHS.
well, it sounds like,
That's what
I
we're
think what
saying.
we're proposing is
Yeah.
confirm it with them.
Yeah.
As opposed, let's
Just double
have
check
them
it.
confirm it instead of us doing different interpretations of it.
Okay, so what does that involve? We have to write them a letter?
I think it's a phone call or an email chain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
A phone call and then record the answer. Rather be safe than sorry. Okay? Anything else, Kathy?
That was pretty much it.
Okay. Jess?
No, I'm good.
Erica?
I don't have anything.
I have, I think, one minor correction. In the intro, it says it's a gently sloping 2 to 30%. I
2
think
to
you
3.
mean,
2
I
to
think
3.
you mean 2 to 3%.
2 to 3, yeah. It's not a cliff, no.
Is the board okay with the 2 waivers? I mean, obviously, if they're gonna check with DHHS about the system, checked by, however it has to be done, then I guess it's good enough for them. So, I don't know that we need a hydrogeological study in this particular case with this one lot.
I would agree with you, just because the lots going down behind here
Yeah,
are almost all in the public, they're all in the public water supply.
yes, okay.
So we're not gonna have
So
any well
just to
issue.
clarify, so it would be good in the final to actually state the distance to the wells,
Okay.
but I see a well here. I don't even know if it's being used anymore.
I don't believe that's being
And,
used,
and I've driven back here, and there's a house somewhere over here. And I guess, are they tied into the water system? or do we have-
Tie in the water system,
but
right.
this well is still upgraded and
Okay,
meets the
all right,
requirements.
good, then good. So they're both on public water, is what you're saying? Both of those adjoining, abutting homes.
I believe so. I'll have to confirm
Yes.
with the Grinnell
Okay, if you
field
can
of
confirm
lot, but,
that.
but
And
it's
then
still,
the-
even if it was on well, it exceeds the required setback
And
distance
then
from
the
that well.
cottages are quite a ways away.
Yeah, they're behind and to the side, but they're also distance away and they're on public water.
Yep, okay. So one of the things that came up at the concept review was the thought of not needing another road cut and coming on this courtyard, whatever. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's already cutting the trees and coming in this way, just flipping that around. Was there any consideration of
We
that?
did consider that, and it's, that right away, the way that our surveyors have identified it, does not actually touch that property line. There's like what we used to call a spite strip kind of between the two. So they actually do not have necessary frontage on that road because of a gap between the
Okay.
right-of-way edge and that road.
I like the design that there's one cut through
Yep.
those trees.
Yep. I think it'd be nice to have those mature trees, kind of like a, savanna-like feel to it with the large trees.
And then the stone wall, it looked like on the map, it would remain except where you have to go through for the driveway?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and, I mean,
Because that
even with
stone
the,
wall goes around the front end, at least
One side.
3 of the sides maybe.
goes that side, it stops here, and that's kind of where our water would be coming through on that end.
Yeah, I think
This
it's
side
along the
around.
back a little bit too.
Yeah, this side, there's no intentions to do anything. so-
Okay, so the stone wall would remain, which I think really, that really, and then the other thing is this needs a 25-foot perimeter buffer. I noticed on the map, you had it marked as a 25-foot perimeter buffer in every place except one.
Okay.
So you had 15, well,
Yeah,
yeah, right there you have 15.
Well, because we got the subdivision standard and you got the condominium standard, so.
Yeah, it should be 25 all the way around.
That's easy enough to fix for the final. Again, we have nothing planned,
Yeah, it
so.
goes with the strictest one in that case, and honestly, we may change subdivision to make it 25 for
Yeah,
everything.
we tried to mimic what we did for the other one on South High
Yeah.
Street, as far as how we show it.
Sidewalks aren't required here, you're not proposing any? And sounds like you're gonna need a driveway sign of some sort?
We'll talk with, will we need an E911? Will we need a sign or a name for that because of the 5 units?
Yeah. And.
Will we need to name this driveway because it has 5 units off of it?
Yes.
Well, but.
And,
I'll point to her.
Yeah, we had expectations that that's most likely would be required, so.
the other thing is you mentioned that it'll be built to the town specs and point to road detail, but there is no detail provided. So if you could provide a
Yep.
spec sheet on that?
Yep.
It can be the, the other ones you've seen for that.
Okay, I thought we had that on there.
We talked about a legally binding maintenance plan, which includes the septic. You also mentioned site distance was on the map, but I couldn't find it.
Okay. It well exceeds, it's excellent site
I'm
distance.
sure it does.
Yeah, but we'll note that on
We
there.
should just, because it says it has good site distance, or that it's on the map, either there or in the narrative would be fine.
Yep.
And I think that's everything I have. So, you don't need DEP approval?
Correct.
So do we want to review this as do we want to deliberate on this as both a preliminary and a final? Or do you want to do the preliminary and then they come back with certain answers and we do the final? Either way, there'll be conditions, so.
And I'm sort of thinking we could get the preliminary out of the way, and when they come back, there'll be the final. We may have all our
Yeah,
answers.
there won't be that
by
much to do.
No.
So why don't we go ahead and do the preliminary and then we'll look at the final specs and when they come back, we might be able to just do everything. The map is representative. So, and maybe we'll do more tonight, we'll see. Let's get there first. Okay. So, I feel like we're gonna hear these standards till we're gonna be dreaming of them in our sleep. Statutory review criteria, pollution. Sufficient water. We do need a letter from the
Bridgton.
Bridgton
Yeah, we
Water
have
District.
requested that. We did meet with them out on site to review the connections and everything. And again, today, we've requested that updated letter, so we hope to have that for you soon.
Right? Erosion? Maybe just look at the impact statements on this. Okay? Brenda, by the way, this is very helpful, the way you're doing the impact statements with the listing. Thank you. All right, so got that. Traffic? Sewage disposal. So there's a condition here, or it could become a condition to determine whether or not something more than a site evaluator DHHS approval is needed.
Yeah, I've got it written as DHHS jurisdiction or opinion.
Okay. So that needs to be figured out. Solid waste disposal. They'll be going to the transfer station, obviously. Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. I think here in the findings, not a condition, but I would just state in the findings that the stone wall will be retained except for the driveway cut, and the large trees except for the driveway cut. There is, right here, along in here, not just in this corner, but along in here, I mean, there's a lot of mature,
Yeah, we have no,
very mature
Yeah.
trees there.
we have no need to go that far out.
Yeah. So, I'll put that in the findings that those would be.
Plus, you've got a 25-foot.
Yeah, you got the 25-foot buffer, but
Yeah.
best to leave what's there instead of cutting it and then having to plant. Let's see, next. Financial and technical capacity. I think it would be helpful in the final just to have a letter from the bank. We've sort of stopped accepting it'll be self-funded. Doesn't. So just a letter from, same as Mark's done in the past. There's no surface waters or outstanding river segments. It's not in the shoreline zone. Groundwater, that'll get, all we need there is the clarification on DHHS jurisdiction. Not in the floodplains, no freshwater wetlands. Is there any farmland adjoining there? I know there's sort of
Not
a
anymore.
wide open lot next to there. Is that where you used to live?
Where the cottages.
Oh, where the cottages are,
I-
on the other
My
side.
friend
Okay.
had 17 horses there.
Okay, there's no farm anymore.
No farm anymore.
There's no river, stream, or brook. We've discussed stormwater. Spaghetti lot doesn't apply here. There would be a condition for lake phosphorus concentration that a fee of 130, compensation fee of $137. This would go to the town, right, Brenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it didn't qualify for the,
Right. Yep,
Yeah, it's not DEP,
because you're not going to DEP.
which ends up being a lake.
It doesn't adjoin a municipality, and clearly it hasn't been harvested. Additional review criteria, phosphorus export, we talked about that. The road maintenance, snow removal, that relationship to community services. The road maintenance and snow removal will be done by the condo association. Retention of proposed public sites and open spaces. There's no public sites proposed. You have the walking path, which is for people to recreate, but you're not saying this is a cluster subdivision or dedicating open space.
Correct.
Preservation of natural and historic features. Maybe that's where I should put in the findings about the rock walls and the trees. On the other one, the aesthetic cultural stuff, that we're awaiting responses from the three different
Departments.
departments, right? Okay. And it's not in the shoreline zone. Easement for drainage ways. I don't think we need that. Utilities, we've discussed. Required improvements. Road or homeowners association, so that, we need specifics on that. Or the, for maintenance and concerning whatever the agreement is with the, okay. Minimum lot size and lot frontage. The allowable is 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit based upon the type of septic. And it already has central water. And obviously, Jim, you'll update, the calculations will be on there are on there, right, for exactly how much is being used.
Yes.
Okay. In terms of, okay, monuments, road signs, sign will be needed. And we need the detail on the roads, the detail sheet on the roads, or the road, I should say. Will be no sidewalks. We need a letter on the, water supply. We just need a letter from the Bridgton Water Department. Fire protection, the chief had no concerns. Sewage disposal, we've talked about. Stormwater and surface drainage, we've talked about. The long-term maintenance plan, we need to have that. And the buffer strip, because this is a condo development, would be 25 feet.
We also have just to add on to that, we have the rear buffer for phosphorus.
Correct. Yep. And for the additional items for condos, general requirements, residential, non-residential, attached or detached, or a combination. Density requirements as specified in the section we already talked about. We talked about signs. We're giving a waiver for landscape, because they're leaving that, what's there. We're not gonna, maybe even hardly see it. There's no commercial structures. It's not being done in phases. It's not a conversion. The buffer strip of 25 feet we've talked about. We've talked about vehicular and pedestrian systems, common open space. Only thing we haven't talked about really on here, I'm gonna go, I think we should do the final next time, but let's just talk about what's in there so that we, because there's enough that we'll have to chew on that's coming to us, I think. Sorry, let me go find this. Right. So the application submission requirements for the final subdivision plan would be the plan. Road names, which you are unlikely to have then, so it'll still be a condition. The detail on the roads needs to be there. And so there's detail on what that needs to include, and the monuments, we're waiving the proposed landscaping plan. Do we want a water quality test, which is an option?
Well, it's public water, so.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Kathy's
it's
our
good
water
water.
quality test for that. All right, so, anything else? Jim, anything else?
I can't think of anything. I think you've covered it.
All right, so I accept a motion to approve, tentatively approve the preliminary subdivision plan, pending the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Actually, well, yeah, no, I'll write them. Pending the findings of fact and conclusions of law, with the following conditions, or changes, I should say. Understand what jurisdiction DHHS has for this community sewer system. Changing the software calculations. A condition for a letter from the Public Water District. A follow-up letter from the bank. There'll be a condition for the compensation fee. Then we'll need the document for the homeowners association and the maintenance. That would be a condition. The sign that's needed is a condition. And I think that was everything. Did I miss anything?
I have
Kathy?
retained stone wall and large trees, both roadside and around the buffer areas.
Yeah, I was gonna put that in the findings as
Okay.
opposed to a condition, if that's okay with everybody.
Yep.
So it'll still apply, but that's their proposal, so. And anything else? Have I forgotten anything else? And then 2 waivers, one for the landscaping, one for the hydrological letter. So with those questions addressed and the conditions, I would accept a motion to tentatively approve the project, pending the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Moved by Ms. DiPietro, is there a second? Second by Erica. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. Any further questions? All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 4-0. We'll see you,
July?
we'll see you in July. If everything's in order, we'll tentatively approve it that night.
Okay.
But since the findings will be written for the preliminary, the
Yeah.
findings could be very straightforward for the final.
Okay.
It could be as much as cross-outs. So,
We'll come with,
Yep,
we'll address these and like we've done before, we'll address each one of these items in a cover letter so you know what we're
so if we can
responding
do it
to.
all next time,
Yep,
we'll do it all.
Okay, thank you.
So you don't have to wait after that. All right, thank you very much. All right. Does everybody
Can we take a
good?
break?
What?
Can we
Need
take
a break?
5 minutes?
5 minutes, I was just gonna ask, do we need a break?
Yeah.
5-minute break. Okay. All righty, next on the agenda, Sweden Road subdivision presented by the owner, Mr. Lopez, and presented by his agent. Which Lopez is this? Is this Mark Lopez or Royce Lopez? Okay.
It's ML
Sweden Road,
Investments. It's ML Investments.
Map 13, Lot 82. For subdivision, does anybody feel they need to recuse themselves? Proper notices were sent, the applicant has standing, do we feel the application is substantially complete? Okay. Do we feel we need a public hearing or a site walk?
I think we might have a public hearing.
Well, we might have people commenting, I'm not sure we need a full hearing.
Right.
How's the board feel? I
I
think
don't think you need a site.
this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't think we need a sidewalk.
No. Before we get going, you'll know, and I also provided this to one of the abutters and to the applicant. In your OneDrive is a memo from the MMA Legal, and I just want to give you background on why I asked for that memo, because normally, or why I asked for that, is because normally I would bring it to the board, but because it's procedural in nature, my concern was we couldn't even review this, that we didn't have the authority to review it because of the way it was sort of presented as a 2-lot subdivision, not as a 3-lot subdivision. So, so I requested that Ms. Day clarify that with MMA and also clarify some other items as regards what counts in the subdivision as part of the subdivision and what doesn't count, and whether the rules still apply. So that's what that letter is in there. My conclusion from it is we do have the authority to review this. Subdivision was triggered when they split that second lot in, or when they proposed to split the area in green into 2. So it was originally split into the 2 you see there, the beige and the green. And now the proposal is to split the green into 2, which creates 3 lots, which creates a subdivision. So we do have the authority to review it from what I can see. Have you guys been able to read this? Do you have any questions? Disagree, agree?
Other than the timing, it seems very similar to the case that we looked at.
Just
as
a
our-
little bit ago,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So, okay. The other thing in there we'll get into has to do with lot size. I know the butters have had questions about that. So, go ahead. I
Thank
think
you.
we're good to go.
Thank you. Again, Jim Seymour with Sebago Technics, Senior Project Manager, representing ML Investments LLC for this Sweden Road subdivision. As eloquently put, we were under the same guidance as that this did trigger subdivision with the split of the remaining lot. On this parcel, you can see that the parcel includes this whole extent. This piece was split off, sold to a Mr. Jordan, who is in the audience this evening, and then the remainder stayed with ML Investments, and now they're splitting this. This lot exceeds the 80,000 square feet under the normal zoning requirement. However, because this is going to subdivision, we will be utilizing the 40,000 square feet minimal lot size. As I mentioned, this is in the RN district. The remaining area in green consists of 2.31 acres. This will be served by private well and private sewer. This runoff from all this properties goes into the Long Lake watershed. We are allowed to generate 0.8 pounds of phosphorus per year. We are only generating 0.03. We're including a 100-foot buffer here. This is all kind of meadow area here, even though there's a large contingency of maples that are going to take over very soon. So that is well below the requirement for compensation. This is on Highway 93, Sweden Road, state jurisdiction. We have applied for a highway entrance permit for both driveways to serve the lots. We're waiting for that approval. There is a small easement that we've also included, again, to kind of limit the amount of disturbance we need to do in the front. So we included a small area here in the front to allow overhead extension feed into those lots from one pole. There's a pole here, we'll serve this lot, and then we'll come over here. So it cuts across the private lot for the private service. We are asking for a waiver of landscape, stormwater drainage, and hydrogeology. Again, this will be served by septic systems. The gradient of land goes from Sweden Road to Millbrook Road, and it's a pretty moderate, soft slope going down through. They're pretty consistent all the way down through. The one thing I would like the board to understand, and I know we'll probably hear some feedback tonight from some of the neighbors, is this Sweden Road keeps going uphill, and there's a large hill on the opposite side of Sweden Road, large watershed that feeds this area. There is a large culvert that cuts across here, and that runoff runs down this common property line, and then it just kind of starts fading out and distributing, and the properties down here often get inundated from this water source from the state. I did walk this with Mr. Jordan this afternoon to take a look at the impacts. What happens is, as I said, that water comes off there. There's a lot of groundwater coming off the hillside as well as runoff coming down the state highway. It discharges. There is a common swale that cuts between the properties to the south and this property, but then that swale starts to kind of dissipate as it gets further down into the meadow area. That water spreads out and cascades, and I can imagine that during a large rain event, there's quite a bit of water that comes all the way down to Millbrook. I think when we looked at this the first time, we understood that there was quite a rush of off-site water that cuts through this property. What we are proposing, and based on what Mr. Jordan had discussed with me, is that we will not be contributing towards this channel with any of the runoff from this property. What we intend to do is, most of the homes are going to be built up here. If you look where the test pits are, our line of disturbance probably won't go much beyond those septic systems. So our goal is to build closer to the road, obviously for infrastructure costs, and then that water would follow the natural progressions, following the contours. Where's my one? I get this fine shiny tool and I don't know how to operate it. It goes straight down there. And again, that would be all sheet flow. We're not looking to do anything for channelizing water, anything like that. The only thing that we would be required, which would be by DOT, would be to put a culvert for the driveway crossings off of 93. That's a state mandate. There's nothing we can do about that. But we're not looking to do any channelizing of water from the development of this property into that existing. I'll blame it on DOT for discharging all that water down through there, but it won't be a source of our water contributing to that swale. And I think Mr. Jordan would be looking for the board, and we're amicable to it, to say that we'd put a note on the plan saying that we would not channel any runoff towards that swale.
So you won't carry any water from those proposed future lots onto his property?
Right. Or onto that, we won't be discharging directly to that swale. Because that's the bane of, I think, a lot of folks' existence, above and below. Again, with that information, we're here to take any questions the board may have. I think Mr. Lopez is obviously, like the other projects, is looking for the board to deliberate for both preliminary and final, but we'll listen to the public comment, because I do know that there's a few people here that would like to speak. Oh, and I would like to maybe ask Brenda, there was a lovely lady here in the audience who said she did not get a public notification, so can you just double check the... I know they were notified the first time, but we had the wrong date, and I believe we utilized the same exact list, so I'm not sure whether that's a postal error or us. I would like to clarify that for the board.
Yeah, so Erica has a question. Why don't we start with her, then we'll get the public in here too.
The culvert that you're going to run under the two driveways?
Yes.
Is that going to add water to the swale?
No, that water, there's already a ditch there.
That's what I wondered,
There's a ditch.
okay.
Yeah, that's why we have to put the culvert in.
Culvert there,
Because we
okay.
back it up with the water. So that's just to allow the conveyance of the ditch water through. It's nothing that we're generating.
I have a comment. It was a little unclear to me, but these would be single-family homes. That's what would be supported there.
Yes.
Okay. Before the rest of the board goes, would members of the public like to get up and speak? Go ahead. Name and address.
If we can make it. Okay. Yeah, hi there. I'm Ken Gibbs, address 27 Millbrook Road, and just a few little anomalies. This is a very interesting subdivision. that has been created. In other words, you have one lot, it was divided into two, the bottom lot was sold, and then subsequently, the top lot on 93 was divided into two. And so it could be considered as being a three-lot subdivision. And in fact, MMA, in reading it, seems to think that that is quite possible. Although I like the legal language which says that the planning board should consider the bottom lot, but can make no restrictions on it, which is interesting, so.
Well, that's because that bottom lot met all the specs when it was split off. So that's why it's, although it's part of the subdivision regulations don't apply to it.
Exactly. And there is a slight anomaly here. In reading the legal conclusions, it doesn't say whether if the bottom lot is sold to a private individual, whether that still pertains to the subdivision division of this lot. In other words, you're allowed to cut a lot in half and sell every 5 years. And it's within the 5-year period that they are dividing the top lot. But the bottom lot was sold to a private individual, and that's an interesting question there, whether ML owns only 2 acres, or whether it's still to be considered as part of the subdivision, even though it's been sold to a private person. Interesting. So that's something to chew on. One thing that is bothersome, though that probably much more pertains to your decisions as a planning board, is they're asking for a waiver of landscaping. On the lot to your left, which is the south, there is a private home there. And there's a buffer in between, but there are no trees or anything in that particular area. And so it would seem sensible that for scenic and also purposes of, providing, views and adequate bufferage for the house on the left-hand side, which is actually south, that there should be some trees or some sort of landscaping in that area.
Actually, I'll jump in here. There is a buffer spec of 15 feet, and if the buffer doesn't exist, then it should be planted. And so that was going to be, that's something that I would like to see where there aren't the trees. There is a big row of trees. Well, this appears to all be wooded next to Pinkham. This is wooded for a certain portion, and then it's not. And the other house is fairly close. This is the rear, which is, Jim would have to clarify, but that rear 100-foot buffer is, I think you said, is a grass buffer, correct?
Meadow buffer.
Meadow buffer, yeah.
Yeah, that's, and that's a question there that Mr. Jordan will probably address, whether the meadow buffer is sufficient for the amount of runoff that this property does have. It is considerable runoff, and we've discussed it before when a subdivision was proposed on this particular land. It is, that's another waiver that they're asking, is storm drainage evaluation, and I would probably think it would be best not to waiver the landscaping because of you want to have something between that lot and the lot owned by the house owned by the Fitzgers, and then you would probably want to know whether that meadow buffer is going to be sufficient to take the runoff. Believe me, there is an enormous amount of runoff which they have spoken about on this particular property. And so as a consequence, it's something that needs serious consideration, and especially for the protection of the lot now owned by Mr. Jordan, and whether a meadow buffer is sufficient to make sure that his property is not inundated by the runoff that is coming from, actually, it's a very gentle slope there, but it goes on for miles, and that gathers an enormous amount of water that's coming down at this particular point. And the town has put a significant drainage area along 93, but it is in some respects insufficient when it's overloaded by rain. So in conclusion, I would say very, very interesting splitting possibility and making a subdivision, but I would question the request for waivers of landscape and of storm drainage inspection, and an engineer looking at whether everything is going to be working in such a way that it doesn't endanger the property owned by Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, I don't think they're asking for a waiver of the stormwater.
Yeah, it's on their original. Maybe they can.
It's the hydrogeological study, which,
Yeah, the hydrogeological, but you did ask for a waiver of this. Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Gotta get out of the way here.
Sorry. We did ask a request waiver of the stormwater management portion of that for capacity, because our feelings were, these were two minor single-family homes. The problem with the runoff is off-site contributions and not necessarily from the property itself. So we'll let the board deliberate on that when we come back after I hear the rest of the public comments.
Okay, thank you.
are there,
And thanks, Brenda, for getting the legal opinion, which is wonderful garblese. It's great.
It's written for a legal interpretation only.
Yeah, you didn't write it.
Nope.
okay. Does anybody else have are there any other public comments? Please come to the mic. Name and address, please.
Peter Jordan, 44 Millbrook. May I just address the map instead of standing here?
Sure.
I bought this lot last September, looked at it in August, bone dry. Starting in January, water's run over my whole lot. And I mean, a sheet runoff, the whole lot. It also goes down under this land. It works there's a stone wall here most of the way. The water works its way across my lot, follows the stone wall, and then goes onto this lot, and eventually you've got a waterfall going into the ditch down here. If it had been disclosed to me that this lot was going to be wet 8 months out of the year, I would not have bought it. Since I built my house, starting in January, the water has just been coming continuously. So I had to dig a ditch from this pin right here, over here, to get the water to eventually work its way down the stone wall like it always has over the whole lot, so that I can have a dry piece of land to live on. And what I did was I dug a 2-foot wide ditch that's 18 inches deep, and it runs continuously. Not quite enough to stock it with trout, but it runs continuously. So that's what I've had to do. And so my concern is that 5 years down the road, whoever's here decides, well, gee, I don't want this water running across here, which it does this. I don't want that anymore, so I'm gonna dig a ditch right down here with a backhoe and just dump it. And then it will be uncontrollable, because it already goes out here onto this guy's land. And it also comes here. My ditch has to end at the boundary. So it just may be just too much if we get one of these 100-year storms we seem to get every year or so now. So my concern is that there's just I would like to see the planning board put some kind of a restriction here, even though I know there's a 15-foot thing, you're not supposed to do anything, although we all know what people do after a few years, you know. I would like something specific there so that whoever owns this lot, me or somebody else, has some recourse at some point from having too much water dumped on them.
Okay. I think that's very doable, so. Okay. I guess I missed the stormwater thing. Do we have a phosphorus calculation on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy, do you want to comment?
I would,
And if anybody wants to see the pictures of the ditch, I have them.
I've been down that road, I've seen it.
I don't
Impressive.
think you've seen the ditch I dug. It's on my lot.
I haven't been on a lot, but I've looked at it. It's, I believe everything you're telling us.
So may I
Yeah.
respond? Thank you.
Right.
With regards to the buffer, you are correct in that, I don't know what I did with my, about probably 75 feet to where the front setback is, and maybe another 25 feet, maybe 100 feet of that common sideline with the folks to the south has vegetation growing on it. From there, you're correct, it opens up, and it's a meadow. It's probably was a meadow for many, thank you. Wow, my assistant now. On this side, probably to about here, there's trees growing along the edge of that swale that cuts down through there. That swale kind of meanders in and out of the property lines, but once you get beyond that, they've mowed right up to the edge of that swale, so there's no trees on this side. There's some low scrubby stuff that's coming in. I would say that this field is starting to be taken over by an incredible amount of maples. I mean, they're only knee-high, but in a few years, they're going to be 6 feet high. There's going to be an amazing takeoff of maples that have just filled in the meadow area there. But to that point, we're not opposed if, because of the grade drop, it's going to take some time for that buffer to have any meaning to the people down below. But I'm saying maybe we're not opposed to planting some pines or something here, along the edge of that buffer. I really don't want to go into that buffer to disturb that, but we could plant something along the edge of that. Or maybe it's even more desirable to do something here on this sideline outside the 15 feet of required.
Yeah. I would
Because the
probably do
swale,
it.
that 15 feet
Yeah.
actually compromises a good part of that swale as well.
Yeah.
So it would make sense, and from a stability purposes, to plant trees along the edge of that swale, just to kind of keep it intact. And to the other point, we can also berm that up a little bit so that this water can't get into that swale. So you can make a little bit of a earth berm, a foot high or something like that, just to block that water from getting out. And you can plant along the top of that berm to kind of create a diversion for this land not to get into that. But the idea all along is to sheet flow this down to go into this buffer. It's not to create ditches. The buildings will have drip edges, so they'll go back into the ground. The only thing that's going to have any immediate runoff would be anything they have for a yard or the short driveway section. And so we did ask for, let me explain why, again, the stormwater management portion of this, because in stormwater world there's a time of concentration, and this is a very large watershed, and it does take a little bit of lead time for a peak storm event to get down to this meadow. This is an immediate close proximity. This peak will be well before anything else that comes down through the state highway. The mass problems are created by the off-site contribution of water. There's a 24-inch culvert there, and I can imagine that during a large storm, that thing's blasting out a lot of water. It's probably got a head on it, it's probably pushing, we could see debris from the roadside well down into the meadow from where that runoff's pushing litter from the highway, basically. So, again, the issue is not what we're doing immediately here. The issue that everybody's dealing with, and it probably has dealt with for a long period of time, is the runoff coming down 93 from off-site sources, because it's coming, as Mr. Gibbs pointed out, this is a long slope going to the northwest, as well as there's a long hill that comes from the southwest, all feeding into that watershed. And even though there's a ditch along there, they have these various locations where they've done these turnouts, or they have culverts directly discharging. I'm sure at one point this was a meadow, and probably DOT decades ago, thought this would have no impact on that meadow. Now, today, we're putting homes, and there's other homes down here, down in Millbrook, that are being impacted. But again, that's kind of a town and a state issue, not necessarily anything that we've created. I can show stormwater calculations in here. I'm very confident that they will show there'll be no impact to what's currently running off that property now, would meet pre and post. Again, I feel that the big concern is the off-site contribution of water. That's what we've heard when we originally came into this 3 or 4 years ago, and still today, and they're still feeling the impacts down on Millbrook. I do know that Mr. Jordan had to install some very large culverts, because this is a deep ditch on the downhill side of that existing stone wall to convey that water to cross further down. So that's the rationale for that request. With regards to the butter notification, I did check with Brenda. A notice was sent. Not sure whether it got delivered, but it was registered with the post office, so.
Thanks, Brenda.
So, back to the board.
Yeah, so I think I at least like the explanation you're giving about the water and the source of the water and where it's going. Your best sort of engineering narrative on that with some detail.
Okay.
Does this mean we would need a landscaping plan?
And yes, I was going to get to that. I'm just going to ask Kathy her feelings on the stormwater.
Yeah, I guess my question is, since you have walked the site, where on the site does water begin to spread out?
Yeah, what happens is, I think over time, this has been a very gentle swell. Obviously, it scours here because it's got some energy behind it.
Right.
Once it gets down to about where our property, well, down near this, where we show the buffer, it starts to kind of, the channel itself starts to fill in, and the water just kind of starts moving out in a fan-like measure, and then it starts kind of migrating down like this.
Right, but we sort of need to know what the impacts of that particular are on the buffer that you're trying to make.
Yeah, again, that water kind of goes down, and where we were walking today, Mr. Jordan said on his pin, really, once we get beyond, right at his property pin, that water starts to spread out and kind of turns like this. So it really is at the end of this buffer. Ideally, in a perfect world, we had discussed this in an engineering decision, would have been to obviously rip-wrap that channel down to Millbrook to let that water go in an ideal world, but
Right.
that ship sailed, unfortunately, a long time ago. And that would have to be a collusion between the town and the DOT and homeowners and everything else, because it's their water that's impacting this. So that's the general direction that the water runs. I'm guessing that probably before a change of hands, that swale may have been maintained a little bit cleaner to keep that water directed straight down over the hill. But as time goes on, things fill in, and now that water just kind of starts fanning out and follows the contours, which unfortunately takes it right through the middle of Mr. Jordan's lot.
So for me to support not having the stormwater management report, I'd want some sort of report that's convincing that the water flow is being caused by other things, and that it wouldn't hurt to do stormwater calculations also.
Based on, where I can see the board's going to be put in a position, I'm not opposed to providing you calculations for the lot itself, but I do think that there are other circumstances for the buffering. I think we can put in there that we will build a small berm along that edge of that existing swale.
I would just, because it is in the spec, I would also add the buffer in the back. I've driven by there, I've seen the trees that are growing up, but I think it makes sense based on everything with this land to do that. And just adhere to the buffer requirement. I agree with you, you don't want to go too far back.
Yeah.
So it could just be, instead of it being at the back, it could be in the front. Along there, correct. Correct.
I do feel that low vegetation is going to be the best treatment for phosphorus and for long-term, for uptake of any stormwater runoff as well. It will mitigate a absorb a lot of that. But again, a lot of the issues are from off-site
You
contribution.
could leave that there though, right?
Yeah.
And still put in the landscape.
Yeah, that's what I would do, is I would
Yeah.
plant some evergreens or something like that, some pines or something across the rear, to just kind of break it up a little bit there.
Yeah.
Like I said, in walking that field today, there's going to be an eruption of maples in
Yeah.
short order, so it'll be a jungle out there in 5 years.
Yeah. Royce?
Right, so does the board want a berm here?
No. What I was suggesting was we have tree plantings here, and where that vegetation line ends here, we build a small berm, very narrow berm, and use that as a diversion to keep the water from going
Right.
into that, and also use it as a planting.
And also
If we
put some
don't-
plantings in there so that it's screened from the other home.
Yes.
So there's two purposes
Yeah.
there. One is the water, the other is screening.
Yeah, I want to make sure there are trees on both sides of the full
This is
lot.
well vegetated on
Okay.
this side. This side is the open.
Okay, then yeah, so for the two reasons.
Yeah,
we
you don't,
want-
you don't need it along the whole thing, just where the opening, similar to what we discussed with Ohio Ridge, where the openings are.
Yeah, there's an opening that kind of starts right about here, and goes down the rest of the way, so what you're saying is from here to here, and then across, kind of an L, reverse L.
Yeah.
So we need you want us to plant trees in the buffer?
No, outside, just outside.
I'm sorry. Here. Trees there?
Yeah, right along
Yes.
that edge, that
Here.
dark area is the buffer itself.
And then,
Is
in
that,
addition to the berm, here, because you have an opening here.
okay,
And the
and
buff,
is that for water runoff or for the,
Both.
Both.
It's
The
for
side one,
both.
the side one will be for, it's a double pot zip, I guess.
Yes.
You know, we can build a berm here, plant on it, we're not talking anything really high, but just enough to keep the runoff from
It-
going
it-
into along here, then the back would just be planted.
it's for screening and to assist with the water. The-
That
it-
one is
okay, so for the screening, is that for the house down here? So
Oh.
they don't have to see these houses?
No,
Well,
going the wrong way.
no, the house, there's a house right there that's,
Right here.
There's a house here,
yeah.
so they don't have to look this way at the house? Does that house face
It's
this way?
screening for that.
You gotta
Well,
put the house
yeah,
in the
their
right spot.
yard is right there. From the road, I can see this house.
Is there a gap on the
So
other
there's
side
not-
as well?
There's not much
Yeah,
buffer there.
There is a house
No,
up here.
right,
Okay, we've got.
No,
the-
right here.
yes.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
This is running here.
You've got the requirement is a 15-foot
Are they
perimeter
facing this
buffer.
way? Are they facing?
That's what we need.
It doesn't matter what way the house is facing.
Yeah,
The window.
So you're just asking us to bolster the 15-foot buffer, basically?
correct.
I understand.
Are we required to have a buffer?
Yes. That's a
It's a subdivision requirement.
That's a standard that's required.
Necessarily required.
Well, no, it's required, Ken. Says,
Yeah.
it basically says if a natural buffer doesn't exist, you have to make one. You have
Yes,
to plant
but,
one, yeah.
we're requesting some trees to be put.
Correct.
That's what we're
it.
talking
Yes,
about.
the
Yeah.
buffer.
And that is, you're right, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so we also want trees here for water runoff
And screening.
Additional.
and screening,
Yeah,
because
it's-
there's not a substantial vegetative buffer.
Yeah, that buffer
Correct.
is substantial for the runoff, but the back one is more for screening purposes.
Correct.
Even though, so there is maples here that will grow up in a couple of years, and those will go
Yeah.
on the screen?
Correct.
So
Not
we-
at this point, I would say no. I mean, I can see the Mr. Jordan's house from the road
Yeah.
quite easily,
Okay.
so. I don't think you need an individual landscape plan for the two lots where the homes are gonna
You
go,
just need to
which is
plant
what
a few.
what a landscape plan is
We just need to
asking
put a
for.
few trees on line with the homes to
Yeah.
kind of break it up a
So
little
if
bit.
you just could come back with that, I think that
So,
would,
are there regulations about like how big the trees have to be, like, do they have to be an immediate buffer? Are we talking like 8 feet tall, 6 feet, 10 feet?
hold on.
I mean, most of the time, they're 5 to 6 foot tall landscaping.
Yes, and this caliber sizes.
If existing vegetation provides a poor visual screen, a mix of new landscaping, including trees, shrubs, and grasses must be planted. And then it goes on to talk about you know, you can't cut it, you know, it gets in the deed, all that.
Yeah,
So-
how many trees, is there a number of trees that we need, like a minimum?
Not come back with a proposal.
Yeah, we
It
come
should
back.
screen, it should provide a visual screen. So if you wanted some guidance, you could look at, these standards don't apply to subdivision, but if you go to, for instance, the outer corridor district and look at the landscaping standards there, that will tell you
Don't do that, you'll have a heart attack.
what to do. No. But those are landscaping standards, they're not necessarily,
No, I think what we
Yeah.
understand, and I think what we can do is put some pines or something like that, just to break it
You've
up.
got a whole row of pines there
Yeah.
that starts it, that are quite large. I would put in some decent-sized pines, like 8 foot high, put another, they've got to be spaced properly. So the number is going to, the spacing is going to decide the number.
Okay, so do we have trees in this? Do we need trees in this on the front?
You need trees in the front, so
If we
you
don't have
would,
trees, we have to plant.
There are some trees there.
there's a buffer there.
Yeah, there's a decent
It's
scrub
not,
shrub buffer
you need to
there.
make sure that what's there is 15 feet wide. If it's not, so when you come back, so what I would say is go back to that area, check it out, make sure it's 15 feet wide, and if it's not, then there should be some plantings. And you would really ideally, you want to make as minimal a cut as you can, and as minimal a removal of the stone wall as you can.
Yeah,
You know, like 20 feet or whatever.
Yeah,
you
and there's
need
some
for a
stuff
car.
coming up behind, as always, there's stuff coming up behind the stone wall.
So so I think sounds like the big thing here.
I mean, it would be good if we get a waiver so we didn't have to plant all those trees. I mean, if we're talking trees here and here, that's gonna add up pretty quickly. If this
Yeah.
house isn't like staring out their living room windows at us.
It's required, the buffer.
Yeah, I
it's required.
think I get the
We can get a
sense the
waiver
board
for it?
is, we could waiver it, but I think the board is, there's a lot of must-use in the buffer law, in the buffer section, and just reading the board here and the abutters, I mean, I think this is something that's usually one of the most, if not the most important thing to abutters is that buffer screen. So I think the board's pretty squishy about giving a waiver on that.
Okay.
Question? Is the proposal for single-family homes on these lots?
Yes, single-family homes are the only thing that could be allowed because of the amount of land that's available and the type of septic and water, so it'd be single-family homes.
Duplexes or triplexes or anything?
That wouldn't be possible. And it won't even be possible after the new law changes.
Oh, this gentleman would like to
So,
would you like to speak?
one or two more comments, we're overtime right now.
Well, yeah, I'm a partner of Christine Larson, who owns the property opposite this lot. We were concerned with the large trees that do face 93 being cut for the driveway. And I understand there's some concern among the builders not to cut too much because these large trees absorb a lot of water.
Yeah.
And we've lived through 2 different big storms that washed out the driveway that goes up Blueberry Hill, you know. And we know the water is coming off Blueberry Hill, but it's also coming, as they pointed out, down the road. And it's a fearsome storm that wipes these out, but it's done it twice in the past few years.
Okay.
So, but I also have a question. If you plant a lot of, allow the maples to grow up, what's to stop homeowners from deciding they want a lawn there and cutting them down?
Well, that's one good reason to have the 15-foot buffer, but they can't cut in that 100-foot strip, period.
They can't.
They can't. It's gonna be in the deed, so that's not something that, and
Okay.
it will be marked, so.
Okay.
Anybody have any more comments? Because we do need to, we're behind right now, but I want the public to be able to speak.
I
Donna?
just wanted to ask about hardtop versus gravel driveways. Could you address that?
There's no distinguishable difference between the two. By DEP and stormwater standards, we treat them as impervious surface, so pavement and compacted gravel are considered
Either one is
considered the same. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So, I think, just to summarize where we are, we're gonna need another meeting. So you're gonna provide us, so first of all, does the board feel that our attorney needs to look at the MMA letter and agree or disagree with it? I
don't
feel
think
like
so.
it's pretty straightforward.
I think we're okay.
So, when you come back, we'll need the details on the buffer. You're gonna write up, the stormwater, your best engineering write-up of where the stormwater is flowing and why. The calculations for the 2 lots. And I would just, if you want to get, have us deliberate on everything, then just provide the rest of the detail
For the
that's
planting.
needed, whether you're going to have a gravel or a paved driveway. It will be single-family homes.
And we've already made those estimations for the phosphorus, so it's just basically backing
Okay.
into the,
And am I missing anything?
planting plan.
So-
Planting plan.
Planting plan.
We may not know necessarily if there's gonna be gravel driveways or paved.
It won't make a difference.
It won't make a
No.
difference.
Won't make a difference in the
We may not be
calculations.
able to specify that.
Well, just then just say that's how you're gonna do it.
Okay.
It's compacted gravel.
I know you've got gravel on the Middle Ridge ones, so
Yeah.
is, if the owner's gonna be making that decision, then we need to know that, whether, I assume you can make the decision if you want to.
Don't know if it really matters other than
Yeah.
it's impervious surface. I mean, it could be concrete, it could be pavement, it could be gravel. It's all the same in the computation, so. Most of the time, they start out as gravel and then they get paved by somebody.
Yeah. I do understand washout, because I've had my driveway wash out enough that I paved the road and
Yeah,
put in a
and
swale.
interestingly enough, it's usually the smaller microbursts that cause the most damage.
Okay. So, I think we're done for tonight. And if you need me to provide additional written info, let me know.
Yeah, I'll work with Brenda and staff, but I think I have essentially what you're looking for on the 2 larger issues, so.
Okay.
Did we cover putting something in there in addition to keep somebody down? the
Yeah,
road?
that'll be on the subdivision plan, and it'll run with the land. So it'll be in the person's deed. It will be, if you don't put it in there, it will be marked, so staked, so you know where it is, so the new owners know where it is, so that, and if, we can decide at the next meeting whether we need to have signage, but,
I think we'll put a note on the plan to stress that as well.
yeah, but it's clearly very critical that that's adhered to.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry to the board. Thought we were in staff. We were moving right along, but we need to give Mr. Lowell some time before us. So, You know, you guys, if you're worn out and need to leave, we're probably gonna be about another 15 minutes, so. So, thanks, Ken. All right, so next on the agenda is Mr. Lowell. And if I could find my agenda, I could actually tell you. Mixed-use building, Mr. Lowell, Depot Street, map 27, lot 8. This is a preliminary sketch plan, so it's a concept review, not binding discussion, an opportunity for the applicant to get our reaction to the concept, any kind of things to give him as advice. And so with that, Peter, go ahead.
Okay, it's an acre of land on Depot Street, it's wooded, and I've been doing some clearing, I got a permit to do some clearing up near the road. And I'm in kind of a limbo situation, which is why I'm coming to the board to get get some recommendations or ideas or whatever. The first thing that I ran into solidly was the impact fee, which I've been talking with the code officer, Brendan, several times on this. The first time I went back in the fall, I don't think there was a real, it was the Public Works Director who was kind of deciding what the impact fee would be. And then when I came in about a month and a half ago, the impact fee was calculated at $78,000 for in order to
For sidewalks.
For the sidewalk fee, which apparently that's being, some work's being done to make that less onerous. I don't know what the details are at this point, but that's kind of a big block for anybody in an area like this in town to develop.
To help out with that, Peter, I know that I think at the next select board meeting, which is next week, there is gonna be a decision on that, and I know they had the same reaction you have to how high that fee is.
Yeah, okay.
So I believe it will be substantially lower.
All right. So one of the issues is what this is going to be, or what I'm hoping to do is basically a duplex with a commercial facade on it, because you need that in order to live on the ground floor. You need to be shielded from that. So one of the questions that Brenda and I have been tossing around is, one thought I had was if I'm paying $78,000 for an impact fee, that's front footage based. The American Legion is next door, and maybe some of this land could go to them for a parking area, so I'm trying to figure that out. And so a question that I would have if that wasn't, if that didn't work out, is do you think there's enough parking in the area for the type of use that I'm proposing? So I guess parking is one issue. Sounds like
Is there room it looks like there's room on the property to have parking.
Yeah, I mean, the American Legion, when they have a meeting, they park along the roadside.
Yeah.
But you could really only safely park on one side of the road. But the lot has, it's quite a large lot, and the area that would be developed would be, maybe 7,500 square feet or something like that. So there's still land left. That was another question, was what is for a duplex and a commercial use, how much land is required? And you read the ordinance one way, it says 2,500 per use. You read it another way, it's 7,500 it doesn't matter because the space is there, but when you're putting together a plan, it's a little confusing in terms of what the minimum land area requirement is for what you're looking to do, so.
So it says per use. I think it's So first of all, I think does seem like there'd be room, and I understand what you're saying, but so this is in DVB one, and the minimum lot size is 2,500 square feet. But because it's also in GD one, GD one, right, not GD two.
DD1, yeah.
That has a requirement that usually points to the actual, so let me look at the footnote on here. Yeah, so in GD1, so it's in GD1, so the way the 2,500 usually works is it's 2,500 per principal structure. So from a structure standpoint, if it's all in one, you're okay. But in terms of the uses, I don't think you need, I mean, I can have Brenda research it more for us. I don't, unless GD1 says you need to do that, I don't think it says, let me see. So did you get to the 7,500 by multiplying the 2,500 3 because you have the two duplexes?
Well, because there's basically 3 uses there, yeah.
So you have 2 dwelling units.
Yeah.
And so you need, at the worst case, you need 2,500 per dwelling unit, which is gonna change next year to 1,250 per dwelling unit.
Good Lord.
So you need well, it's 2 dwelling units, so it's not.
See?
I think well, I'll get Brenda on this, but it is per dwelling unit, so you'd need 2,500 per dwelling unit, so you need 5,000 for that. I don't know that you need another 2,500 for the use. That's on the bottom floor, because I think that really relies on the structure, unless it says something different in the shoreland zoning. So, general development district, it is in the chart, so let me look, I'll look real quick here. So we're not here to dimensional standards. So if it's in the GD1, is it GD1 or GD2?
1.
GD1. Well, that says 20,000 minimum lot size of 20,000 for any use in the GD1 district, and that is footnoted. Except that the following lots must contain a minimum of 5,000 square feet. And what lot are you? Your map?
I'm not that footnoted lot.
Okay. So I think we're gonna have to set Brenda on this, because the way I'm reading of this, if it's in GD1, except that you're not gonna be, well, you are, the whole lot is in the district, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you need potentially that entire lot. You said it's an acre?
A little under an acre, I think, yes.
Yeah, I think we need to get a reading from, some help from Brenda as to whether or not, or we need to do a little work, which, because this to me says you need a minimum of 20,000 square feet for any use. What I don't know is if that combined, does that mean 40,000 square feet because you have residential use and a commercial use? Or is it just 20,000 square feet, which you clearly have, and you're close to the 40? You meet the 2,500 if it's not in the shoreland zone for DVB1, but it's getting squelched by by the
Sorry about
district.
this.
So,
Your timeline is what I was going to ask about, because in the next 12 months, we have 2 new state laws coming in.
Yeah, when do you want to do this?
yeah, well,
Not
but-
right away. I mean,
But
yeah.
shoreland zone is still gonna apply, shoreland zone overrules that. So he still needs to have the appropriate lot size for shoreland zone. So I think what we need to do is a little side work with Brenda to understand whether he needs 40,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet, because the entire lot is in GD1. If only part of it was in GD1, then it wouldn't matter. It would, or it wouldn't matter as much. I think that's your biggest issue. The other thing is that on that bottom floor, you'll need to select something that, that's an allowed use on a bottom floor in DVB1. So there's, you said office space, or
Yeah.
if you're not really gonna have a retail sale and you're really wanting to have the dwelling units, I'd make that, I'd propose that some sort of office. But the code prohibits you from using it for any kind of dwelling, so, because it's a prohibited
Unless it's
use.
screened by a commercial use from the public way.
I'm not sure about that, because you have to have an allowed use on the first floor.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there is a note, there's a note that says that you can have a residential use on the ground
Second floor.
floor as long as it's shielded from the public view by an allowed, or a commercial use. So I guess, because there are several charts and different zones and all this stuff, that's what my confusion was, is, if I need 20,000 per use, then I can really only have one use unless I get some kind of waiver, but if it's 2,500 per use, then no problem, and so it's just been kind of confusing to sort through what applies and what doesn't.
yeah, I'm not, I think what would be helpful is do you know where this note is that talks about, in the code that talks about the facade? Because I think that would, because what it says in the use chart is pretty distinct. It basically says no for a dwelling unit.
Yeah. No, you're right, then you go, whoop, that's out, and then you,
Now, if what you're saying, you're gonna have an office facade, but nobody living on the lower floor, then I think you're okay.
yeah, this is what it is here, it's on page 30, the bottom of page 30.
Yeah, if it's a single story. But are you gonna have 2 stories? I think you're gonna have 2 stories. I think that's your issue. Because it says, if it's composed of a single story, the uses allowed in DVB1 upper stories are also uses allowed within DVB1 ground story, as long as the uses are not clearly visible from any public lot line, and one or more uses listed ground story column occupants a portion of the ground story that is most proximate to and visible from any. So the issue is, it's not a single story.
Yeah.
This came up, this footnote got added for you and the board with a single-story building on Main Street, and they wanted to have the residential in the back and the retail in the front, and so that was allowed. You don't have that situation unless you make it a single-story building.
Okay.
So you would need to, I would look at that use chart and pick the use that
Well, all right.
works.
Let's say, and I'm sensitive that you guys have been here a long time here. I don't want to drag this out here too far, but so based on that note, if I had a allowed commercial use, like an office, because really, I'm just, honestly, I'm just putting that there so I can.
So you can
live on
have the
ground
residents.
floor. So an allowed use on the facade, and then a single residence.
Behind.
Off the back of it. Would that be 2 times 20,000 or 1 times 20,000? I guess that's the crux.
That's a good question. I mean, I'd have to go through because it says for any use, which implies to me 2, but it doesn't say per use. It says for any use, so it tells me you need 20,000 for the residents, 20,000 for the,
Office.
Whatever it is.
the whatever. But I can have Brenda, I mean, I guess we can have a little bit of research done on it, so
And
we
then
all.
what does the state law do to this?
The state law, I don't think it's, unless
Because-
they interrupt shoreland zoning, I don't think it's gonna do much at all, because the state law allows higher densities and smaller lots, but not in shoreland zone. So that's, and I can double check that, Peter, but that's the way, that's the caveats in the law that were carved out. We can look, and I know it is late and we're all ready to go. But, yeah, to me, that's your big question is, and the way I read this right now, you need 40,000 square feet.
Right.
You might, so what that would require is going to the appeals board for a variance if you're under 40,000 square feet. I think just the appeals board and not,
So step 1 is to figure out if it's 20 or 40.
Correct.
Who takes that step, I guess, is.
I would consult with Brenda and have her look into it, because I don't think we're allowed to actually do that with you, but that's what I would take back to her, is it 20 or 40, because it's in GD1, and then she can send us she can send everybody a clarification memo, at least of her, what her opinion is, which we would pay attention to, for sure.
Sorry, we don't have a clear
Let's
answer.
see.
Well, I think it's really, the code is really confusing. It's layered.
It's because you're in shoreland zone. If it
Right.
wasn't in shoreland zone, it would be a lot less complicated. I think your worst situation would be 7,500 square feet are needed. But,
Right.
you really only have one principal structure, so I could argue you need 2,500 too, but you have one principal structure. But the issue is the uses in GD1. So, Kathy?
Yeah, we also have the issue of, I believe your entire lot is in the floodplain.
Yes.
Yes. So there's be floodplain construction standards.
Yeah, that's a little easier, I think, because the 1 foot above the floodplain is basically the road surface. Because DOT came in and did a survey of elevations, and I
Yep.
jumped on their, reference points. But so, you'd have to do some, you'd have
Right,
to
right, and make sure
pay
that you.
attention to that, but
Yep.
it isn't, prohibition like.
It'll add to the cost of the construction, but it won't prohibit you.
Right. Okay. All right, well, thanks for
Peter,
your time.
the other thing I'll ask her to look at is if you did, not that you want to do this, but if you did 3 units in the structure, 3 dwelling units in the structure, which essentially makes it a subdivision that's subject to site plan, right?
Call the meeting.
Then the law, then you might be able to do that. I'll have her
She's
check
gone
it.
to the dark
All
side.
right, we're ready to go.
She's sanctified everything.
I will, I'll get Brenda on this. Okay,
Yeah, because I've talked with her
yeah,
a lot about this, and I think it's still confusing.
yeah. I'll sit down with her. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry you got the, kind of the short end of the stick with us.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
I had to come
All
back.
right, everybody.
Thank you.
We were rolling pretty good, and then boom.
Yeah.
Took a while. I did want the public to be able to speak on the other thing. So our next meeting is 2 weeks from now. Jessica, are you here 2 weeks?
I am
You're
not.
Okay. And I think we'll just do it in an email.
I'm not going to be here 2 weeks from now.
Okay. We obviously made progress on the subdivision regs last time. We're going to try and get those ready for review by the board so they can go to public hearing, go to the, so thank you, Erica, for your help on that. It worked pretty good. We met with GP Cog today, me and Ashley. We're going to kind of change things around for the next workshop. Instead of exactly continuing the way we were doing, we're going to give them materials because we kind of know what needs to be done in terms of lot sizes and that sort of thing. And then have them start working on what are the decisions we could make based on the intents of the districts. You know, so mitigation, things you brought up. But I'll provide more detail on that instead of getting
What
into
about
that.
the STR ordinance?
That's ready. Brenda incorporated Rolf's suggestion about noise. She just referenced the ordinance instead of writing out everything, which I think is a wise way to do it. And so that should be going to the select board no later than July sometime to be put on the warrant. So, Ralph just, so anyway, I can mention that later, but it's, I'm pretty sure it's 20,000 square feet that's needed. So, all right, motion to adjourn? Okay, all in favor?